Hi everyone, it's Caroline. Thanks for joining me today. It's Hillside Heart Prompts week number 7. My little banner. I'm going to choose a page first. And then I'll choose the prompts. It's going to be either one or both sides. I don't know yet. There's one. And the prompts for this week are wild animals or animals in the wild, contributed by So Brizzy, and vintage, contributed by Rachel Seabree 8524. I just gathered a few of my things. Here are some animals in the wild, elephants, and I also have this bookmark, and it is a vintage one, and it has a wild rabbit here and a fox. I'm going to use that. I also have some a vintage certificate. Membership is a certificate of some kind, and I also have a very modern catalog, and I was thinking maybe it could show another. Oh, there's an animal, caribou winter. I'll use that. I think that'll be a lot. Don't think there's anything else in here. I'm gonna get started. Wild animals or animals in the wild. And I think I will use both sides because the hearts are just a background, a painty paper that I had put in here. And I'm going to start to put down some of this. I like the tape in the middle here, so I could use that. Yeah, this is dated 1876. I love the embossed seal. So what I'll do here is okay, that just came apart, and that's okay. I'm going to use that part. Hope everybody's having a lovely February weekend. Winter is still upon us, but spring is coming shortly. I'll trim off the excess. And I don't need all of these. I could use some of this over here. Maybe I'll use that there. I don't know yet. Oh yeah, I wanted to use the tape. So I'll use that. Well, I'll use the whole thing. Can't save it all. I've reprinted a few things for my journaling. The bookmark that I showed you with the woodland animals. I've used that before. I don't know where I've used it. I'm going to use the original because I have taken copies of it. I'm not going to go right to the very top here. Wild animals or animals in the wild. And I have my caribou. This is the original. I'm going to peel off the back. That was already stuck onto something else. This was in a big package of fun old ephemera that my brother had went to auction, and he thought of me. So here I'm going to put, I wonder if I'll put that over here. I'm not going to put it down yet. And I have all these elephants. This was from a National Geographic. I'm just wondering if I should put... Now, elephants are in the wild. These are oxen or something else, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use those. I think I'll cut around that. Maybe some of the clouds. I'll take off some of these clouds. I love this type of journaling because sometimes it just goes faster than you thought, and it gives you, well, it gives me the crafting that satisfies my craving for crafting. I'm going to leave this down here. That is not vintage, but I will turn it, once I get it onto the page, I'm going to take the gloss off. I'll put this over here. Elephants and caribou, what a great mixture. I'm just wondering where this guy can go. And I still have these. This could go up here. This fits the whole length, and then I can use it as my, that's what I'll do, I'll use it as my tuck spot for the hearts. After I put this in, just talking it through. This was going to go here. Thank you for sharing your awesome ideas and the prompts that the art that you're creating with the prompts. I love to hear it. I love to see it. So it's really fun and encouraging to me. I can put some of this on here too on the edge. I can make a thicker glue line because my hearts are pretty small. Don't want them to get lost in there. It's fun to see your creations in your messages too. I imagine them when you're describing what you've been doing. And that's wonderful. We're here to inspire each other to create. That's vintage, vintagey looking. My deglosser, been using that a lot lately. I really like the effect and it works well. And I think for vintage it just helps to give that look. I just trimmed up the caribou so it could fit down in this corner. I don't want to take away too much of the elephant trunks. I'm going to put that on there. I will take the shine off of this, the gloss off of this page too. Now I do see a lot of blues and browns, the vintage colors, what I consider vintage colors. I also think pink is vintage, but the one that I have here that I've used the paint is a bit too bright. Doesn't work with this today. And I also have this, now this is a piece of Roman blind tape that I had coffee stained. I'm going to put that up here to hide these hearts. Like that. And then I also have, this is a vintage doily that I've taken apart. I've used this throughout my journaling. I'm going to put that on top there with the blue, ties in the blue. This is coming together a lot smoother than I thought. At first I thought, well, every time I pull an animal prompt, I'm having less and less, and I'm not going to go with the dark. I'll choose this side here. I'll leave the scruffy edge hanging over, and then this can go extra. This can go over here, and I will trim away what I don't need. I'll just put little stripe of glue here. All of our glues dry clear, so that is a saving grace. Okay, I just took that little piece off in the scrap bin. It goes. And I think that's all I have left of that one. A little bit more over here. Couple of shiny spots on that one. So I'll take care of that. And then I also have this area right here, which I can use a little bit more of the certificate over here, maybe make a cluster. Going to look at these. I'm going to use this corner. I'm going to make a little cluster right there. I'm going to put this on the corner, and then I have a piece of lace. I'm not going to put a large amount, just a little bit. On here. I'm going to need something else, and I have this piece of wrapping paper that has butterflies on it. Well, they are in the wild, and it's also vintage looking. I thought it would be fun to take one of those. I'm going to see if there's a butterfly that is that looks really pretty, and I think that would match nicely. I'm going to, this was from the thrift store. I'll tear it. And this is going to have a fold in it so that I don't lose I have a lot of fun doing this. I hope you do too. It is so great to add layers, as many as you want, fold them over, scrunch them up until they fit. I'll take away this section. Seeing a little hint or just a peek, a little bit of lace peeking out is all that has to happen. I'm going to put this down here. I can add a little piece of, tiny piece of lace right there, or maybe I'll add some tape. I don't have any ready-made tape. This is hockey tape, so I'm going to use a piece of this and see how it works. And I'm just keeping a little safety pin right there so I don't lose the end. So I'm just going to tear this in half. Well, I said in half. I'll put that right here. I just happen to have, this is Havana Brown alcohol ink. Let's see if that works. I'm going to practice on the little scrap. Let's practice. That's kind of fun. Let's get inky. This is a really small piece of a space. I was going to put a stamp there. I'm going to put the date. That's all it needs. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of journaling. Week number 7. This week's prompts are vintage and wild animals or animals in the wild. And it just so happened that one of my hearts that I cut out had a little bit of vintage feel to it. So that's really fun. I added a vintage certificate here from 1876, tore it up and used it in several spots. I had this vintage bookmark that has some wild animals, some hares, and then a fox. And then I also had National Geographic with some elephants, and then a recent catalog from one of our hardware stores, I couldn't think of the word, that has this caribou on it, which is found in the wild. And I also have a butterfly, a vintage butterfly. I added just a little cluster here with some lace. And then at the top, I also added some more vintage fabric trim. I added a piece of hockey tape and I made it a little more vintage with some alcohol ink. Oh, and then I also took another piece of the certificate that was torn off, and I added some of my journaling, and I'm tucking it in here with the hearts. Thanks everyone for joining me today. I hope this invites you to dig through your scraps, your magazines, catalogs, brochures, anything that you might have. If you don't have the authentic vintage item, you can definitely make it look vintage with inks, pens, some staining. Use what you have, and it's about having a feeling and trying to do something that looks a little bit more, a little aged. I appreciate you so much for joining me. Be adventurous and stay cozy. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.